Welcome to another edition of Inspired Stories, where leaders share their experiences so we can learn from their successes, how they've overcome adversity, and explore current challenges they're facing.
Welcome to another edition of the Inspired Stories podcast, where leaders share their experiences so we can learn from their successes and be inspired by how they've overcome adversity. My name is Anthony Codispoti, and today's guest is Roger Martin, co-founder and CEO of RockBox Fitness franchise. This is a state-of-the-art group fitness studio that takes fitness to a whole new level by combining intensity, mojo, fun, motivation, and results. He's also the co-founder and board member of Beam Light Sauna, which offers light therapy solutions such as red light therapy, chromotherapy, and infrared saunas. Additionally, he hosts his own podcast called Thrive More, where he explores the latest tools and best thinking to help you thrive in every aspect possible, financially, physically, and mentally. So you should definitely check that out. And he's written his own book, An Insider's Guide to Business, Secrets from an Entrepreneur's Playbook, where all the proceeds go to a charity, and we'll find out what that charity is. But before we get into all the good stuff, today's episode is brought to you by my company, Add Back Benefits Agency, where we offer very specific and unique employee benefits that are both great for your team and fiscally optimized for your bottom line. One recent client was able to save over $900 per employee per year to their bottom line by implementing one of our proprietary programs. Results vary for each company, and some organizations may not be eligible. To find out if your company qualifies, contact us today at Add Back Benefits Agency. Now, back to our guest today, the co-founder, the founder of RockBox Fitness and Beam Light Sauna. Roger, I appreciate you making the time to share your story today.
You bet. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here.
So, Roger, let's do one brand at a time.
Sure.
Tell us in your own words, what does RockBox do that's different from other fitness centers?
Yeah, great question. And I'll just quickly give you very shortly background before that. So I spent 25 years in the branded pharmaceutical business. Right out of undergrad, went to work for a company called Eli Lilly, and then was a sales rep, and then ended up working my way through three or four different companies up to a chief operating officer position, moved my family 8 times in 14 years. So got a lot of experience in leadership, sales and marketing, branding, and a lot of pharmaceuticals, believe it or not, are very, very similar. They're called Me Too drugs. These manufacturers will develop a drug first, and then you have like 4 follow-ons that are so similar. It's always the branding and the way it's presented and small little nuances that make the difference. So I really honed my chops in branding and understanding those pretty complex markets over those 25 years. When I decided to leave corporate America back in 2016, 17, I had met a gentleman who had a boxing for fitness, group fitness studio, and he was looking to franchise. I had actually found my son. My son wanted to learn how to box, and I found him, a private boxing instructor. Ended up meeting this gentleman named Steve, and I said, "Look, I'm going to be leaving corporate America. I'm going to be starting my own company, and I want it to be around health and wellness versus treating sick people. I'd rather avoid that, and help people be much more conscious of their health, but also have a really good time and enjoy it." I'm a huge fan of MMA. I'm a huge fan of boxing. I've always been passionate about health and fitness. And so when I got together with Steve, he already had the product, like the workout and the way it's set up and the way it flows. And it's really, really unique. The workout never repeats itself. A member will never do the same workout twice, like legitimately ever. But it wasn't, the name was wrong. It wasn't wrapped in the right package. It didn't have the sizzle that a really good, strong brand does, and it didn't have the identity that a strong brand needs. So long story short, after about 4 months of talking, we got together, formed a 50-50 partnership. He brought all of his fitness expertise and that industry expertise. I brought the capital and my know-how around marketing and building a brand. And then our first 2 hires were marketing consultants, one on the West Coast that I knew, and then one on the East Coast that I'd worked extensively with. And we started to build a brand. And we set out to start a national franchise. It was never, hey, let's have, I want to have a couple gyms or something. I was going to definitely build one of my own so I could own a studio and find all the pain points in the studio and also make some money for sure. But I wanted to understand the business. And we ended up rebranding the business because he had a different name as RockBox Fitness. And it is a boxing, kickboxing, group workout led by an instructor on a mic, calling the combinations, and then half the workout after the kickboxing on bags. Nobody gets punched in the face, by the way.
So no sparring.
Yeah, I've done that when I was younger, but not now. It's you punch bags, we bust calories, not noses. And then the other half of the workout on the other side of the studio is a full functional strength workout. So think kettlebells, dumbbells, battle ropes, TRX, slam balls, those things. Nothing, no, bikes or treadmills. Nothing where you're just going to sit there and be stationary. We wanted a very dynamic workout, and also for our franchisees, we didn't want a lot of moving parts because you have to have maintenance plans and you have to fix those things when they break. So we wanted a very simple, functional strength building side of the studio. So we've got the boxing bags, a couple different kinds of boxing bags, and rows of them on one side. You've got a functional training studio on the other, and every workout is 50 minutes, 5-0. It's all done to a curated playlist. It's all done, the combinations, the workout is all pushed down from our headquarters here. And it's set to color adaptive lighting that changes with the music. So the best way to think about this, a real long answer to your simple question is, most people quit their fitness programs because of boredom. They get bored. And so we've created almost a nightclub feel where you come in and you sweat and you work out hard. It's a hard workout, but you have fun, and the music's going and the lights are changing color, and you're in there with a group of people that have the same kind of goals. You've got an instructor that's almost like a rock star lead singer on the mic, really rooting you on. And 50 minutes just flies by, and it's like going to a nightclub, but there's no hangover, no barbell. You leave and you feel great. And people want to
no bar bills, they're barbells.
I love it. Right. That's good. I love that. I may steal that. So it's really taken off. We have 60 studios nationwide. We're opening one this week, I believe, actually, in Tyler, Texas this week. We have another one in Virginia that's opening. We just awarded the license in we have another one in Nashville, North Carolina. It's opening in 3-4 weeks. We just awarded the license in Boston, the greater Boston area. So the concept's expanding, and it's because I think people are sick of running on a treadmill. They're tired of going to, or not even going to, a gym because they don't know what to do. They're not sure what to do, or they get bored and they quit, and there's nobody there to motivate them. And we've also combined like a full custom nutrition meal planning and nutrition plan for people that want it. And we have accountability coaching, which means that our coaches will get the members' cell phone numbers and be texting them and reaching out to them and say, I have a class, and have you done your grocery shopping on Sunday night? And if it's a really, a stickler coach, they'll even say, cool, Samantha, well, shoot me a picture of those, and really hold the members accountable, because they come to us for a result. They stay for the experience, but they come for the result. And that's why they walk through the door. And, in a nutshell, that's how we differentiated our product within the market. And then we have, a franchise opportunity where entrepreneurs and people that are looking to expand their portfolio and take control of their destiny can own their own, or several of them. We have many multi-unit owners that will have several in a given metropolitan area.
And it seems like the timing is probably really good for this, right? Like a couple of years ago, gyms were suffering, right? Coming out of COVID, everything shut down. Even when some of them could reopen different parts of the country, strong limitations in place. Maybe you had to wear a mask, or you still had to stay spaced from people. But now it feels like here we are, mid 2024, as we're recording this. People want to be back out, right? They want to be in social communal situations again. But I mean, you touched on a really important thing there that, I've been a guy who's, tried to stay fit my entire life, and I get into these ruts and I get into these routines, and and then I get really excited when I find a new YouTube video that, like, I forgot, like I should focus on the negatives now instead of and I get excited to do something new again. And in a class environment like this, especially when you've got other people with you, you've got an instructor who's leading it, and I've got to witness this, what you're talking about with the music and the lights going, like, you can't get bored in that kind of an environment, right? And, you're coming in maybe after a long day of work and you're just dragging, right? And you need somebody to pick you up. I mean, what you're describing is exactly that. Like, you couldn't help but get into it and, and get some good fitness from it.
Yeah. I love what you just said too, because I grew up, I'm 53 now. I grew up 3 sets of 10, right? 3 sets of 10. And you just, It was, and Monday was always chest and tri day.
Chest.
Always chest and tri, International Chest and Tri Day. But I didn't experience really experience group fitness till my 40s. And then once I did, I realized, holy smokes, I work out a lot harder in a group format than I did on my own. Even with a personal trainer at times, I still found I worked out harder in a group format because you have people on your left and right and your peripheral vision. But, with RockBox, and the reason it's called RockBox is we wanted to emulate that feeling of live music. So I'm a huge live music fan. I used to be a musician in my younger days and, playing bar bands and stuff. I just this past Thursday, I saw the Foo Fighters here in Charlotte, and there's a feeling that you get, everybody gets when it doesn't matter the genre of music you like, that, the openers played, then then they're clearing all the stuff out, and it's about to pop off. It's about to, and the haze starts coming out and the lights, and but it hasn't quite, but you get those butterflies, like, here it goes, man, here it goes. I wanted to recreate that on the hour, every hour at RockBox, so that when it was time to work out, you got excited, not, oh crap, I got to go to the gym, more like it's about to go, man. And the lights go crazy, the music comes way up, and that feeling, no one's ever left a concert, driving home and going, well, I wish we would have stayed in tonight. Said no one ever, right? Said no one ever. Like, it's always a great time. And so that's what we've worked really hard to recreate, is that feeling that you get right before it starts, so that people look forward to it versus, and they get to go to RockBox versus they've got to go to the gym. Yeah.
And so describe to me, like, how it works. Like, is it literally like every hour on the hour there's a new class starting?
Depends on the city, depends on how full the studio is.
Busy it is.
Yeah, but the studios can hold, depending on the size of the studio, anywhere from 24 to 40 people. And then the class would be split. So you'd have half on the boxing side, half on the functional, and then they would swap 25 minutes in. And it's all coordinated by the instructor. Like, you don't even have to think. You put your phone in the cubby, check your brain at the door, put on your boxing gloves and come on in. And then they call the combos and they do all that. And they teach you how to do it. So it's usually it would be, there'd be like a 4, 5, 6 p.m. class in the average studio. If some classes are really, on the weekends, there'll be maybe an 8, 9, 10, or sometimes they'll space it out like 15 minutes or so to give people time to get in and out. But yeah, and every studio is slightly different, but it just depends on the load and depends on, for the morning classes, what time the schools start in that particular area and whatnot.
So let's talk about the customer experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm somebody, maybe I'm a little bit fit, maybe I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to get into, I want to try something new. What you're describing sounds interesting to me, but a little bit intimidated, because I don't know how to box. I don't know how to kickbox. You're talking about putting on boxing. I've never even worn boxing gloves. Like, walk me through that, like, first time experience.
Yep. Well, without missing a beat, I can tell you that whenever I've worked in a studio or helped train franchisees, I never miss the opportunity when somebody new comes in and I can tell they're a little bit intimidated to say, "Did you bring your mouthpiece and headgear?" Because it always freaks them the hell out, right? I'm like, "No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to spar today." But you can just see their eyes get huge. Like, "Oh my God, where's the door?" No, so we prefer people who have not boxed, because honestly, a lot of times they'll bring bad habits in. We would rather teach them from the ground up how to stand, how to move, how to turn their hips, how to rotate their shoulders. It's not an arm punch. You're using your hips and your core to really throw that punch. And we teach them that. There's only 4 punches in boxing. There's a jab, a cross, a hook, and an uppercut, thrown on each side. And we teach them how to effectively do that so they don't get hurt. We teach them 3 basic kicks that we do, which is a front kick, round kick, and side kick. And you don't have to be a martial arts expert by any means. And in fact, Anthony, the vast majority of our members, were deconditioned. That's our kind word for people that are just way out of shape. They were deconditioned when they came to RockBox to seek help, because they couldn't do it on their own. And to make everyone feel comfortable, and also to make sure we don't have people that are distracted, we've built all of our studios without mirrors. So there's no mirrors inside besides the bathroom. There's no mirrors, because you're right. People can get intimidated, especially if they are deconditioned and they go into an Orange Theory, or they go to some other studio where it's wrapped 360 degrees in mirrors, and they're really self-conscious about people are looking at me, or they didn't even like the way they look in the mirror. They don't want to look at themselves. And so we just made a decision after, I think it was like the 4th studio we'd built. We said, that's it, no more mirrors. If this is bothering anybody, it's not worth having them. If somebody's form is incorrect, the instructor is going to come over and correct them, so they don't have to watch their form. So we help them with that. and so nobody gets hurt. And it's just, you watch when people come in and we'll say, what do you notice that's different about the studio here at RockBox? And they'll say, without fail, they'll say, no treadmills. I'm like, okay, you're right. But besides that,
what else?
And they can't quite figure it out. And then I say, there's no mirrors. And then they see that there's no mirrors, and you just watch this, like this calm come over them, like, I'm not going to be judged.
I was going to say, this tells everybody this is a judgment-free zone without having to put up a banner or a sign or anything. Yeah. It communicates it more subtly like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And instead of putting a no judgment zone vinyl above a mirror, which is kind of ironic to me, but so we like to walk the talk. Our values, we are a values driven company. And when I say that, people sometimes think, it's religious or something. No. We're a values driven company, meaning we have 6 core values, and that's how we hire people. That's how we fire people. That's how we decide if a franchisee candidate is right to be part of our network or maybe needs to go if things have changed or we made a bad decision. If you have your values right in a business, the decisions get really, really easy. Really easy. And I wrote about this in the book. Your decisions get really easy. The consequences may be very difficult. And you talked about COVID. I would love to say we started in 2021 and things have been great. No, we started in 2017. So I think we had 15 to 20 open at that time. I had to get 15 to 20 of these studios through COVID. And let me tell you, I can argue forever that fitness is the most essential thing, besides food, is the most essential thing you need. But of course, it wasn't determined or wasn't deemed to be an essential service. So we did have to close, but we made the decision to close prior to the mandated shutdown, about 2 days prior than the shutdown, because one of our values is trust. And the members, the staff, the franchisees were trusting us at the headquarters to make the right decision and to lead them. And nobody knew what to do. I mean, none of us knew how to operate in a pandemic. IBM, General Electric, nobody knew. But we knew that we didn't understand what the hell was going on. So we should probably go ahead and just hit the pause button, and let's figure this out. And we ended up having to close for what was supposed to be 2 weeks, turned into months and months, depending on the state you were in. But it was the right thing to do at the time. And within 72 hours, we had an online portal set up for our members with goal setting, meal plans, workouts if you had equipment, workouts if you didn't have equipment. We were doing Facebook Live workouts, Zoom workouts from the studio to just their local members. We were trying to support our members when, remotely, when we couldn't do it in person. And a stat that I've shared many times, I'm so proud of, is that first full month we were closed nationwide, 84% of the members continued to pay full dues.
Wow.
To support the studio and or just because they were getting the service that they needed and we were helping them. And that's a stat I'm really, really proud of. Of course, every month we were closed after that, it started to go, down some more, but I couldn't be more proud of the franchisees.
There's a couple of impressive things in what you just said there. I mean, the fact that you guys closed 2 days before the mandated shutdown, now that we're on the other side of this, some people forget, like, things became very politicized as it went along. But early days, you didn't really know what was going on. Like we didn't know what this was, what it was, or what it was going to become. And I don't hear too many stories of people who shut down before the mandate, came out. And so for you guys to do that, to live up to that value of trust that you were talking about, I think speaks volumes. What are some of the other values that are core to the brand?
Yeah, so of course, like any company, we have a cute little acronym, right? It's called FASTER, because we do believe that speed wins in business and small, mid-sized businesses. Speed wins. So FASTER is our culture, and FASTER stands for fun. So again, a guy from 25 years of pharmaceutical corporate America, very buttoned down. I wore suits. I wanted something that was fun, and so if I was going to build a company, I wanted to make sure that we could have fun as a headquarters, as a franchise network, and our members could have fun as a fun product. So it's fun, accountability. So, we're accountable for actions, do the right thing when no one else is looking. S is for service. So lead with a servant's heart. And the way you do that is different depending on the situation. But again, if you do what you would want somebody to do for you, you're going to serve other people. T is for trust, as we talked about. E is for energy. I think, again, in corporate America, I saw so many just dead men walking, dead women walking, just through the halls. and we want energy. And we, the little soundbite behind that is it's the vibe that makes the tribe. And we want, smile first. Like when they walk in the door, make sure you're the first to greet the member with their name and a smile so that they feel that energy. And ours for results. At the end of the day, it's based on research, tried and proven. And we want to make sure that whatever we roll out to our franchise network from a promotion standpoint, from an advertising standpoint, or from a workout programming standpoint, it's researched and proven. And then again, the same thing for our members as well.
The way that you've described the gym, it sounds to me like there probably isn't a huge square footage requirement as compared to maybe a traditional fitness facility that has all the bikes and the treadmills and all of that. What's a traditional footprint look like?
Yeah, that's an insightful question. And we've actually just contracted it. So the average was about 3,000 square feet. And we're, a big box gym is probably 15,000 square feet. But with the cost of leasing commercial real estate now and build out and upfit, we've really worked to bring that down. So we've optimized and got it down to 2,000 to 2,200. Wow. It takes very little capacity out. It takes some, but very little out, just the way we've re-engineered it. But you can still make just as much money as a franchisee because class load, you can just add another class. If you need more capacity, you just add an additional class. So yeah, we've got it down to about 2,200, I think is the sweet spot, 2,200 square feet.
Well, that's impressive. I mean, 3,000 square feet already sounded like a really attractive footprint. Sure. But if you're able to reduce that by, almost 50%, and like you're saying that they can continue to make the same amount of revenue while paying a lot less in rent, and probably, like you say, if you need to, you just add an extra class. Probably having some of that scarcity makes it even more attractive. Oh, I got to go in and I got to book myself. I don't want to miss out.
Yeah, when we first reopened after COVID, it's the most popular I've ever felt in my life. I'll tell you, because I owned a studio, I think 2 studios back then, and when we reopened, we kept the class size to 50%. So I think I had a capacity of 32. So I had 16 spots only 16 spots, 8 on the bags and 8 and we had everybody spaced out. And so, we went from 32 down to 16 and people wanted to come back and work out after COVID. So every single class was just slam packed and, waiting lists. It was kind of fun. Yeah.
Let's talk about COVID just for a minute more, not to throw salt in wounds, sure. But I'm kind of curious that trajectory kind of coming out of COVID because, kind of looking back now, a lot of people forget, like it wasn't a straight path, right? It was like, okay, we think this is almost done. Like, let's start to open. Oh, wait, there's another variant, like another surge. Let's close everything again. So there was just a lot of up and down and back and forth and so much uncertainty. If you're just living your normal life, you're dealing with that uncertainty. But if you're trying to run a business and staff it and trying to figure out cash flow, the uncertainty is just on an exponential level. Yeah. I'm kind of curious, when did you see finally coming out of that? When was it that you kind of knew okay, I think we're going to be all right. I think we're going to actually make it now.
Yeah. Sooner than you would think. Now I can tell you the whole industry, group fitness, boutique fitness, it rebounded really strong in January, February of 2021. So that was after a lot of people had already gotten it, had some immunity, or they got the vaccine, I think was out by then. So that seemed to really allow people mentally to come back into the space. But I was closed for 2 months in North Carolina and then reopened. Now I will tell you, the governor and I didn't agree on the date that I was going to reopen, but I went ahead and reopened. But I did stay closed for 2 full months. But it was that game. Hey, close for 2 weeks because that's the mandate. Then it was, we're going to close for 2 more weeks. Like, okay. And then, okay, now we're going to allow these services, including fitness, to reopen in 2 weeks. So send out letters to all the members or emails and texts. And, I'd really just, I kept most of my staff on and paid them. And then I finally had to furlough them when we kept extending it. But then I brought all the staff back. And then the governor, the day before, said, you know what, we're going to wait and postpone this another 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, I'll play along. So hey, just kidding. We're not going to open yet. But then, we're opening in 2 weeks. And it was I don't know, June 2nd or something. And June 1st comes around, governor comes on and says, we're not going to open. In fact, we're going to delay this at least another month. And I, again, just brought everybody back, told the members, classes were already fully booked, ready to go. Not, they weren't full because we had half capacity, but the schedule was full. And I'm like, you know what, to hell with it. We're opening. And what we did is we did consult legal and said, well, physical fitness is prescribed by physicians. It's prescribed by physicians. And, people with diabetes, people need to work out. And there is a need for this. So it is an essential service because physical therapy, a physician prescribed exercise is an essential service. But you can't ask the member if they've been prescribed that because that violates HIPAA. And neither can the police if they come. So
you found a loophole.
We found a
it's
loophole.
Pretty clever.
Yeah, and we said I didn't find it. I mean, I gotta say, it was a clever lawyer, but we did end up reopening. But again, we had spray bottles behind. We would always be masked up except during the workout. We were as efficient and clean and healthy as you possibly could be in any situation. But I feel that it was such a hypocritical time in our nation because you'd still have liquor stores that were open, like those were fine for some reason, but you couldn't have people working out. Just some crazy stuff. And again, not to politicize it, but it some of it just didn't make sense to me. So I went along for a while, and then finally I was like, I'm not going to. And then they left us alone. They didn't say a word. Now I will say, and I read about this in the book as well, as my franchisee out in San Diego, California wasn't quite so lax, and they'd send in the National Guard if you were to open. So, and they did the same thing. We're going to open. And in fact, I think they did let her reopen, and then they closed everybody back down again, which was just a kind of whipsawing the businesses. So she ended up renting one of those like rent-a-fences. She got with her landlord, got a part of the parking lot, and fenced off a part of the parking lot. And because of the blessing of the weather in San Diego, she was able to every morning bring her equipment out, and not the boxing bags, but mitts and kick shields and different things, and then of course dumbbells and kettlebells. And because all of her stuff doesn't have big moving parts, she could her team could take it out of the parking lot. She would host 6-7 classes a day out there, and then put it back inside at night. And it was all above board because they were outside. So I thought that's a winner. That's somebody that is refusing to allow anybody, the government, a politician, whomever, an angry neighbor, to keep you from earning a living because she figured out a way to win, playing by their rules, so to speak.
I just had another guest on who told me of an acronym he likes to use, the FSO, figure stuff out.
Yeah.
That's what a business owner has to have
every day.
They have to have this ability to just figure stuff out. Yeah. Not even when you've got a franchise model, where you guys are giving people the playbook, you're giving them the infrastructure. Still, little things that come up day to day, like where you've got to step in your own situation, your own unique circumstances. You've got to, be able to think on your feet and figure stuff out.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
And I'm curious, what are the geographies that you guys are looking for with the franchising opportunity? Where are you looking to grow into?
Yeah, so we are in 21, 22 states, I think, right now. So Anthony, the real answer is I'm more interested in the person, the entrepreneur, the person that wants to leave corporate America and become an entrepreneur. We don't say like, okay, we're going to go into Austin, Texas, and then just dominate that. Then we'll move on to San Antonio. Then we'll move on to Chicago, whatever. It is so much more about the person and the professional and their fit with us and what we're trying to do, to see if that is a good fit.
What are the qualities that you're looking for in a person? What's a good fit?
Grit is number one. Like, it's actually first, second, third. It's first, second, third because, and you and I were talking just briefly before we went live here. It is never giving up. And so many times people in our society they'll try, and then they'll try a few times, and then it doesn't work, and they're like, I give up. This doesn't work, or this is too hard. And we do have this, unfortunately, we have this kind of epidemic of a victim mindset in the world right now where, hey, it's not my fault. And what I look for is, maybe it's not my fault, but it's my responsibility, right? It may not be my fault, but it is my responsibility. And as a business owner, it is always your responsibility. And as you said, you have to FSO, you have to figure stuff out. Now, as a franchisee, you're going to have an entire network of people that are in the same boat that are going to be helping you and have already experienced this. You're going to have a headquarters that has, training and resources upon resources. And so it helps. But anybody listening to this that's even considering a RockBox or any franchise, you still have to work. It is a small business. You own the business. It demands your time. It demands your attention. And it's not a S&P 500 with a shingle out, in front of a brick and mortar. It is a business, and it's, it's like a child. Sometimes it's fine on its own, and then sometimes it needs a whole bunch of care, but it is not a set it and forget it. And so we look for grit. We look for, of course, somebody that, can follow a playbook. You actually, to use your term, you said there, you give them a playbook. We don't want an entrepreneur that is every 15 seconds thinking of a new thing to try. That's not a franchisee, right? That's a tried and true entrepreneur. But we need somebody that has an entrepreneurial spirit, but wants to follow a playbook that has already been proven to make money. It has already been proven to be successful. So don't reinvent it. And what I'll find so many times is somebody will be really successful and then say, okay, what do we do next? And my answer is, you do a lot more of what you're doing right now that's making a lot of money. You rinse and repeat. You do the boring stuff that makes you money. And a good business, a really good business, is a little bit boring because it's predictable. A business that there's fires all the time and it always needs you and it's crazy and it's super exciting, that's kind of a crappy business, man, because it's not predictable. And that means that it could be a day where you're not making money because it's so crazy. And I think that people, too much Instagram or whatever, or too many, Netflix specials on crazy, business stories where it's always craziness. That is not a good business. At times it can be that way, but you want it to be much more predictable so that you can forecast, you can anticipate your cash needs, you can anticipate the cash the business will kick off. And I just found that a lot of people, maybe because of the way we're programmed, they'll break their own business. They'll literally self-sabotage to keep almost to have a purpose, if you will, where a really good, well-run business shouldn't need you every single day. It may need you some days, but not every single day. And that's a big lesson for a lot of entrepreneurs to learn, I think.
Roger, I've had this exact conversation with a lot of my entrepreneurial friends. There is a difficult balance to be found between sort of innovation and tinkering and, wanting to turn the dials and, figure out ways to improve things and, scale to the next level versus tried and true systems and processes, reliable, do it over and over again. And for, I think some people are wired a little bit more that way they want the cookbook,
yep.
Right? They want it's a cup of this and a teaspoon of that, and you put them in this order. And other people kind of want to look at that and be like, it doesn't call for salt, but I like salt, so I'm going to throw some salt in there and see what happens.
Sure.
And so I'm kind of curious, with all the franchises that you guys have opened and, number of franchisees that you've had the opportunity to work with, do you sort of like screen for, those types of personality traits? Like, is this somebody who's going to want to throw salt into the recipe that didn't call for it?
Yeah. Good question. We try. And with another brand we have called Beam Light Sauna, it's a infrared sauna studio, light therapy studio concept. Just recently, we've had a couple different franchise candidates come in because that brand's moving really, really quickly and we're awarding a lot of licenses. And like I can remember a woman in particular came in, and at dinner, we always kind of meet for dinner, break bread the night before, and then we have a very formal presentation and take them through the whole process of how the business would work and what would be involved if they decided to participate. But that at dinner, I couldn't even wait through dinner, started telling us what we should change about the brand and do differently and how she was going to do it in her studio. And we let her go through the process. And the next day we're like, she's not in, because I know how that movie ends. So yeah, we certainly ask some targeted questions and see if we can pull that out, because that person wouldn't be happy in a franchise network, and we wouldn't be happy having that person in our franchise network. So it's mutually beneficial to screen those people out.
So it's a good time to transition. Let's talk about the other brand, Beam Light Sauna. So, different types of light therapy. I think a lot of people are acquainted with this now, but for those who aren't familiar with these different types of light therapy, can you explain it to a newcomer?
Sure. And I was a newcomer. So to be very candid, in 2021, when I met I have two business partners in Beam. When I met the founder of the first infrared sauna studio in this area that we then modeled the business around, I didn't really understand what infrared therapy was, infrared saunas were. I knew what a sauna was, but I wasn't sure how it was different from an infrared sauna. And I certainly didn't know anything about red light therapy. didn't understand there was other types of light therapy, like blue light therapy. There's green light therapy. Now, when people hear this, they think kind of woo woo and okay, it changes your mood. I'm talking about specific wavelengths and intensity of the light spectrum that have been honed and scientifically researched to target a certain type of pathology. So infrared there's like the saunas we have are full spectrum. That means they're far, mid, and near infrared light. And fancy way of saying that right before we can see light, which is red is the first color we can see on the spectrum, is infrared. You can't see it. And those specific wavelengths at a certain intensity of that wavelength can penetrate your body. And when it penetrates your body, the far infrared goes deep into your body and warms you, heats you from your core. So instead of a sauna just being like 190 degrees in the air and it just so damn hot you sweat, infrared is lower. It's about 130 degrees in that private infrared sauna. And because we have like 8 suites and each suite has its own private infrared sauna, when you go in there, you're warming from the inside out. So it's pushing the toxins out. It's 7 times more detoxifying than a regular sauna. And then the mid and near infrared do different things. And near especially is wonderful because it works in your circulatory system, because it can only penetrate your dermis and epidermis, your skin. And 80% of our circulatory system is in our skin. Also, it helps with fine lines and wrinkles. It helps with skin conditions. So not only are you going to sweat, detoxify, lose some weight, get some pain relief from the far infrared, but the mid and near do some nice health-wise, but also some nice aesthetic things that a lot of the members appreciate. And then on the other side of that is there's red light therapy. You can definitely see it. It's bright red, but it's a specific. It's like 630 to 660. I think nanometers. I don't know the exact science, but it's the wavelength and the intensity of that wavelength that again helps with circulatory system, pain relief. You're gonna recover from workouts faster. Definitely, wonderful for your skin and complexion. And then blue light targets acne. So think about people that have hormonal acne or acne on their back and some of these severe acne. That there's a lot of social stigma associated with that. But it's safe for consumer use. So we don't have a medical director. We don't need a medical director. We don't promote our products for. So what I'm sharing in this podcast, I'm sharing with you openly, but we would never advertise like, come cure your acne, because that's a medical claim, and we don't have a medical director, so we can't, so we would say like, if you suffer from blemishes, we have a solution for that. Blemish is a cosmetic term. And then green light therapy, we've put in the first proprietary bed, first actually in the world. We had a bed custom built for Beam, and we're testing it now. The technology is proven, but we're actually testing the market, I guess, if you will. And green, a specific wavelength and intensity of green light penetrates your body and pierces the fat cells that we have in subcutaneous fat. And it doesn't kill them, it pierces them, and then the lipids drain out, and then you just excrete them, you just flush them out. So people will lose like 2 to 6 inches. Now, and that's 2 to 6 inches is not just around your waist. That's looking at 6 different measurements: your arms, your waist, your hips, and your thighs. And people, when you look at the circumference in just like 6 treatments that are 20 minutes each, can lose anywhere from, usually it's from 4 to 6 inches if they have it to lose, because it's, if you don't have a lot of subcutaneous fat, you're not going to see a big difference, but you probably wouldn't seek out this treatment. But for people that don't want to do liposuction, don't want to take shots or pills and starve themselves, it's a wonderful aesthetic treatment that people are really excited about. So we're just scratching the surface of how we're going to market it.
Okay, so the green light is a new one for me. I'm familiar with the other types of light therapy, and there's actual science behind this that supports all the claims that you just made. It is piercing the fat cell and draining it. Is that what I heard you say?
Exactly. Now, let's be really candid. If you go then and eat a cheeseburger and 3 pizzas, you're going to ingest more calories. Well, I mean, really eat anything, because you're going to ingest the calories. And then if you don't if you don't watch your diet and you don't exercise, those fat cells will fill back up, right? They don't permanently, because you don't, as I'm sure everybody listening, you never really lose fat cells. Once you create them, they're always there, but you can deplete them. And that's why it's so easy to regain weight and regain fat in the areas that you don't want it to be, because it's always the last one to come off and the first part to come back on, because the fat cells are already there. But yeah, and so again, we can't claim weight loss, that's a medical claim. We can't, so ours is going to be around, our claims will be cosmetic in nature. So, lose some inches, circumference reduction, things like that. And we have legal counsel that will help us to make sure that we stay in the guidelines. And then people can choose to use it how they would like, because it's all safe for consumer use. This has been deemed safe for consumer use by the FDA as a class 2 medical device, 510K medical device. We just can't make medical claims, because if we do, we'd be practicing medicine. And of course, we don't want to do that.
Is there a threshold to number of consecutive uses that somebody can use the green light, or I guess any of the light therapies for that matter?
Yeah, it depends on, so like infrared, you could do 7 days a week. You just have to make sure that you're always hydrated, because you will lose fluids when you sweat. Red light, you can do every day. Blue light, some people even do twice a day if they have really severe acne, because it reduces bacteria, and that's how you can get rid of acne. And then green light, you really don't need to do more than 3 times, because you're not going to get more efficacy if you do it more than 2 or 3 times per week. So for what we charge, it wouldn't make sense for people. But we like to recommend what fits people's lifestyle. So if they can get into infrared 2 to 3 times a week, their health is going to radically improve. If they can get in to do red light right before they do infrared, or even do that on a separate day, a couple days a week, they're going to see benefit from that. And then depending on if they need blue light or green light, depending on their physical stature or any afflictions they have, we would never, again, we don't prescribe. We recommend what other members do and what the literature says.
And so, is there a room at your facility where I can just go and get all the light treatments simultaneously?
You would have to hop rooms, right? They're all private rooms, so you would have to hop rooms. But it's all the beam lights on it is a super high end. It's affordable, but when you walk in, it's very well lit, light and bright, very modern looking. So I always like to say it's got that, like if Apple were to make a sauna studio, they would have made Beam, except my co-founder definitely has the look and feel is all her. I had nothing to do with it. She's the brains behind that. But it's a little warmer maybe than an Apple store, but it's still that modern feel, that very modern feel. It's not dark with a waterfall kind of massage place. It's definitely more just a contemporary look and feel.
Yeah. And so what is the customer experience like from a payment model? Are most people coming in like an a la carte? Are they signing up for a monthly subscription that gives them some kind of limited or unlimited use?
Yeah. Another great question. And I would share with all of your listeners who are small business owners or mid-sized business owners, recurring revenue is how you make your business more predictable and a little more boring. And we said that's a good thing. So we have a recurring membership model, of course. We do also, and that's what we incentivize people to do, because it's the cost is much more affordable per service. But we also do have a la carte, what we call drop-ins, where people can come in and just experience one session and consume how they like. And then we have, we can sell those in packs if they'd like to. But our preferred model, of course, is recurring revenue, where it would be a membership model where the member is going to save the most money, but we also have that guaranteed monthly revenue.
And I'm curious, for both of these franchises that we're talking about, Beamlight as well as RockBox, the fitness studio, what kinds of things are being done at either the local or regional or national level to promote and to advertise and to get people familiar with it?
Yeah. So we do, we don't do Super Bowl commercials or anything like that, but we definitely have like national branding, but most of the money, not only ours, but the franchisees, is spent in the local market where they're at, geo-targeted, so that their money goes directly towards their business. And that's important, because if I were investing in marketing and spending marketing funds, I'd want it to be spent in my direct market where I can see a benefit. So we've actually created our own in-house digital marketing agency that serves our franchisees. And instead of having them to go find a marketing agency or do an outsource, which we allow them, we have 2 other vendors that they could use, but we've actually built a really good competency in-house over the last 4 or 5 years on digital marketing. So Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, we've even tried Hulu and Pinterest and some of the others but really the eyeballs are on Facebook and Instagram. I mean, that's where the money is. And so we've gotten exceptionally well at scaling our ad agency here inside Thrive More Brands, which is the name of our kind of a holding company over all these, so that our franchisees, they can worry about their business, and we'll take care of their marketing and direct response.
How do the values of Beam Light compare to RockBox? Exactly the same, similar?
You're asking great questions. So we wrestled with that for a long time, and we ended up with a different set of values. They're similar, but they're different. So, and of course, it has to spell a cute acronym, and so LIGHT is the acronym. LIGHT, LIGHT, and the first one is love. My co-founder, where I was chasing fun, when I was leaving corporate America, she really wanted to incorporate love, and it's not just again woo-woo. It's love for your business, love for your members, love for what you're doing. Because if you're competing against somebody who loves what they're doing, best wishes, man, Godspeed, because that person is going to they're naturally outwork you, out hustle you, outlast you, because they love what they're doing. So we look for that passion within our franchisees. Light, I stands for integrity, without integrity, which is trust, so it's another word for trust. So they are similar. You don't really have a business if you don't have integrity. G is for gratitude. And that's one I was pretty adamant about, and we don't have in our other values, but gratitude is something that came into focus for me 2016, 2017, and something I practice every day, most every day. And it's really helped me enjoy the journey, because again, newsflash for the listeners, for your audience, the joy is in the work. I can assure you, and again, I write about this in I think the last chapter of the book. No matter what what that number is that you're chasing, with how many zeros behind it, I have chased several different numbers and hit them and attain them, and it doesn't change a damn thing in your life. I will tell you, it takes a little bit of stress out of, are we going to make bills and mortgage? Like, it does take that stress out, but once you hit those numbers, you're still going to be looking for the same thing you were looking for before, and that's fulfillment. That's fulfillment. And we find fulfillment through our work. And if a man or a woman doesn't have a purpose, a reason to get out of bed in the morning, they're not going to be a very happy person. They're not going to be fulfilled, and they won't have a lot to be grateful for. So whether you are a busy executive, you're a small business owner, if you're a stay-at-home mom that manages the family, you've got a definite purpose every morning. You got to wake up and run that family. But you have a purpose, and everybody needs that purpose. And I've just found that gratitude helps you center back when things get tough, and they always get tough, around why am I doing this? And then another question I ask myself a lot is, what is it I really want? Because we'll find ourselves wrapped around the axle on something that's pretty stupid, quite frankly. I will. And then if we just slow down for a second and say, wait, what do I really want? What do I really want out of this situation? Okay, well, I can still get that, and he, she, and he can still get what they want. Like, what are we going back and forth?
Doesn't have to be a zero-sum game.
In fact, it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. But it becomes zero-sum when we lose sight of what do we really want, and what do they really want. Well, we can make both those happen. And again, if you're approaching it with gratitude, it's a lot easier to do that. H stands for health, and health again is not only health of our members, but it's health of the business. You have to run a healthy business. If you don't have a healthy business and have cash flow, positive cash flow, you're not going to be able to help your members be healthy. And so we wanted to incorporate health into that. And then T is tenacity, which, again, is another word. It's a
grit.
Yeah, $5 word for grit. And that was really important to put it. In fact, the G started as grit, by the way, in life. and then we realized, like, gratitude, though, we really want gratitude. And then we just, what's another word for grit? But I know there's a difference. I do want to say this too, that I want your listeners to hopefully take away, is stop using the word grind. And I think I've even used it with you real quickly when we were just getting to know each other. But grind is a negative term. That's parts rubbing against each other. That's metal on metal. And at some point, something's going to break. And a human being can only go for so long before they'll break. Grit is I'm selectively applying myself in the situations that need me to apply myself, versus grind. And I'm still getting myself out of that habit. But I had actually a physical therapist that kind of exposed me to that philosophy. And I just thought, man, that is so, so true. Grind is, we say it, hustle culture.
And these words matter.
They
Our
do.
brain hears them, and it does things internally that we're not maybe consciously aware of all the time.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
I think it's good to call out that difference. And I'm curious, thinking about both of these brands here, if somebody's listening and they're considering a franchising opportunity, and maybe they're questioning, like, I don't know if like I'm a good fit for that. Like, what I know that you're looking for, the things that you're looking for in somebody. You talked a little bit about, you want them to be somebody, they've got a good attitude, they've got the grit, they sort of share those values that you talked about. There's somebody who's going to follow a playbook, who's not going to try to throw salt in the recipe that didn't call for it. But for somebody else who's sort of sitting there like, man, that RockBox sounds really interesting, but like I'm not a fitness instructor, or like, what would you say to that? Like, what should somebody sitting out there thinking, man, those businesses sound really interesting and on the edge of something that culturally is very popular right now. I don't know if I'm the right person for that. What would you say? What should they be asking themselves?
Take the next step and find out if it is. Too many people, right? I'm gonna tomorrow, free beer tomorrow, right? It's always going to be tomorrow. and the thing about entrepreneurship is, if you're thinking about it, then test the waters. Do not jump headfirst in. Don't go quit your job tomorrow. Don't do that. But start exploring it. And I can share, if they're interested in Beam Light Sauna or RockBox Fitness, they can go to they can go to either one of those, and Beam is 2 E's, so BEEM. They can go to either one of those two websites, rockboxfitness.com or beamlightsauna.com, or they can just go to thrivemorebrands.com. Thrive More, just run it all together, thrivemorebrands.com, and literally say, click a button, fill out a little thing. I just want to learn more. There's no obligation. In fact, we've got a pretty long, it's like a 6-week process, and there's there's stage gates along each part of it, so that the candidate can self-select out at any time they choose, and we can select out the candidate at any time. And if not, we get to the end of the dance and we say, this looks pretty good. Let's get together and go into business together. But again, whether it's RockBox or Beam Light Sauna or something else, just take the next step and learn about it and go about it seriously. If you really like it, look at your financing, get financing if you need, or get approved for financing if you need it, so that you can make an empowered decision. But obviously you want to make sure that, the franchise is proven. You want to if it's a franchise, you want to make sure that it's proven. You want to make sure that, it has the support. It's not just 2 people in an office somewhere or working out of their kitchen. That, we've got an 11,000 square foot headquarters here that, is fully staffed, and again, on-site digital advertising agency, operations, finance, HR, everything. We've got all that here. Make sure that the opportunity you're looking at has that. I would also say, make sure that the member experience is differentiated. You and I have talked a lot about that on this podcast. If you don't have a customer experience, I should say, that is differentiated, whether it's a restaurant, a retail setting, whatever, an online experience, it's going to be a tough road to hoe. Like it's a very competitive market in anything you do these days, in anything. So you have to have a differentiated customer experience. And then the fourth is, and we talked about this too, is I would look for something with recurring revenue. Like, I don't want to have to earn every dollar every single time. I'll earn it through the member experience and over delivering on the brand promise, but I don't want to have to constantly resell the same customer. And so I would look for those 4 things. It's a proven concept. Let's make sure it's tried and true before you put your money into it. Unless it's your own business, unless you're trying your own thing that's brand new. But if you're looking at franchising, make sure it's proven. 2, make sure you've got great support behind it. 2, it's a differentiated offering, and the fourth one would be make sure that there's recurring revenue.
So we've made reference several times to your book. Let's talk a little bit more about it. An Insider's Guide to Business: Secrets from an Entrepreneur's Playbook. What was the motivation behind writing this, Roger?
Yeah, I wish that I've consumed so many books. I usually read 50 to 60 books a year. I love it. It became my chosen way of learning later in life. In school I did it because you had to, And then when I got into my 30s, I really started enjoying it. And what I enjoy is our business biographies. Like, I love them because you get all the story and all the drama and all the fun with the business lessons included. And then I just love, business books, self-help books, psychology of selling, psychology of pricing. I love how a consumer's mind works and figuring that out and putting that puzzle together. So I've always enjoyed that. But I found that so many great, but people always quote good to great. Well, I just recently went back to reread that just because I'd read it so many years ago. That is a really hard book to get through when you sit down and you read it again. Like, we always talk about it and we reference it, but it is just a data-laden, long read. And then so many of these other books. I just reread Execution, Ram Charan, great book, right? Disciple of GE. Holy crap, that is a hard book to get through. And it's funny because I'm looking at it with different eyes now. And so I wrote this book, and I wrote it. There's no chat GPT. There's no AI like it. It was me, 46,000 words pecking out on a laptop. And I wrote it. It only took me about 35 days to write it, and 180 pages or so. But it took me 4 months to edit it. And I edited it cover to cover 7 times. And what I was doing, some of it was content, but mainly I was trying to make it an easier read. So the only technology I used for this book is I ran it through this app called Hemingway that tells you what grade level the book is written at. And the first time I ran it through, shocker, it was written at a collegiate level. I've got an MBA, so hopefully it should be. But that's not how people like to read. That's not how I like to read. A good book is usually around the 6th to 7th grade level, which sounds pedantic and like a young kid's book. That's how we like to consume even news. Like, it needs to be written at a even 4th to 5th grade level at times. So I kept revising it. I would take I would take the word tenacity and turn it into the word grit, right? I would take the $10 words and make them $1 words, and just kept simplifying it. And then, a month later, I'd run it through and see, okay, I've gotten down to 11th grade. Okay, what else can I simplify? Can I take a compound sentence and make it 3 sentences so it's easier to read? And got it down to, I think I got it down to 6th or 7th grade level, and became a book I'm incredibly proud of. And I had somebody recently that made a post about it unsolicited, which was really cool, on LinkedIn. And they even said to the camera, like, hey, and the author Roger, hey, I don't mean to say anything bad here, but it's a pretty easy read. And I'm thinking, dude, I work my butt off to make that an easy read. Like it's supposed to be an easy read, so you remember it. And then I've got like little call outs in the book. But the thing too, so I'm super proud of it. And I wrote it, to answer your question, I wrote it for entrepreneurs. I wrote it for people that were thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, or they've just gotten started, or even a mid-size, but they're stuck and they can't get it out of second gear. I wrote it for the people that are looking to start, staff, and scale a business, or who have a business and just can't scale it to the next level. And look, if you're looking to how to get from $1 billion to 10 billion, I haven't done that yet. I don't know. I'm not your guy. There's books that go read Elon's biography, right? But if you're looking on how to grow a 6-figure into 7-figure, a 7-figure into 8-figure, and I've even been an integral part of a team that sold for 210 million, so 9-figure. Like, I know how to do that. I know how to do that, and I know how to make it really, really easy and tangible for people to understand how to do that. The work is still there. I don't have a magic pill for the work. If I did, I would have taken it. But the actual roadmap and the playbook, like, that's what I lay out. Like, here is how to do it very, very on a very granular level.
And so the book is available for purchase on Amazon. Mm-hmm. It's a physical book, or you can get it as a Kindle book. Mm-hmm. All the proceeds go to charity?
Yep.
Is that right?
Every single dime. So our national charity partner is called, the name of the charity partner for RockBox is called To Write Love on Her Arms, TWALA, To Write Love on Her Arms. And what that is people that commit self-harm, where they'll, take a razor blade and hurt themselves or write something. The story that goes, and I didn't know about this charity, but when I learned about it, just, wow, I want to be part of that and help this charity. A guy had a friend who was cutting herself, and he said to her, hey, if you're going to write anything on your arms, you should write terrible things. He's like, why don't you just write the word love? Like, write love. And so To Write Love on Her Arms became the charity. And she was able to heal and become very healthy. And so this charity is focused on preventing self-harm, or helping people who are committing self-harm, and of course suicide prevention, because usually self-harm can lead up to and include suicide. So It is our national charity partner for RockBox. We raise money for it every single year through our franchisees and through our headquarters here. And then so for the book, I thought it just makes sense to just donate every single dime, everything. So, and usually I'm going to say that a lot of times when people will say, all proceeds go, that's after they take a cut, blah, blah, and then there's proceeds left. No. Besides what Amazon takes to print it and then their cut, of course, every single penny, red cent, goes to Right Love and Arms.
Oh, that's really generous of you. That's a fantastic story. People should check that book out. We'll have links to it in the show notes for sure.
Cool.
Roger, I just have one more question for you, but before I ask it, I want to do two things. The first one is, if you like today's content, I invite you to hit the like, share, or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. The second thing is, I want to make sure that people know how to get in touch with you. And I think we went over this already. ThriveMoreBrands.com is the best place to see how to get in contact with Roger, his team, to learn more about both of the franchise opportunities that they have available. Follow some of the advice that you gave earlier in the show, which is, hey, just take the first step. Nothing is committing you to filling out a form and just kicking the tires and just let's just see. So if there's any interest at all, just a tiny little bit, I always encourage people in all parts of life, let inertia work for you. Don't be a body at rest, be a body in motion, and take that first step. So last question for you, Roger. I'm curious, and you've got two different sort of industries that you're playing in here with your franchises, but how do you see each of those kind of evolving in the next 5 years? What do you think the biggest changes that are coming?
I'm going to answer that differently right now with you, Anthony, than I would have answered it 3 days ago when I read what I read, and this light bulb went off. Because again, I have brick and mortar locations. I personally have brick and mortar businesses, and then I have a bunch of franchisees with brick and mortar. And so, AI, oh my God, AI is going to, take everybody's job and ruin all the businesses. And I forgot who I was reading about. I forgot who posted this, or I'd give them credit. But AI is definitely going to evolve. We're using AI in the way that we advertise, in the way that we measure things, and we need to learn how to use it even more. But because AI is advancing so fast, very, very, very shortly, very soon, if not already, the level of trust is going to go down, because people are not going to know, is this real? Is this fake? I don't know. I'm going to assume it's fake until I know it's real. And because of that feeling, and we're human beings, we're social creatures. I'm a total introvert. I play an extrovert on TV, but I'm a total introvert. But I still want to be around people. I kind of joke, we talked about, said I went to a Foo Fighters concert. Like, I don't like people, but I love gatherings, right? It's just that weird thing, because we're social creatures. We're social creatures. And because artificial intelligence is going to replicate the interactions that we would have with another human, we're going to crave that. And I now have more confidence in group fitness and the boutique fitness model than I've ever had, because I know people are not going to move away from that. They're going to move towards that, because it's a community. They're going to see the same people they see at every, the same class of their chosen time. That people kind of gravitate to that. They're going to get to know the instructors. They're going to feel like they belong somewhere. The AI is going to be filling their lives in all the other areas. So I'm ultimately confident that people will seek out communal experiences to subsidize what AI will take away from the human experience. So maybe a different answer than you're expecting, but different answer than I would have given probably 3 days ago.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've have been involved in and have a lot of friends who are heavily involved in the digital space, e-commerce, online courses, et cetera, for years. And I remember having a series of, pretty in-depth conversations with some of my friends in the space before COVID. And the thought then from a lot of folks was that we are eventually going to get to a place where traditional retail will be unsustainable. There will have to be some sort of a merging of the digital experience and the in-person experience. And then I think when COVID first happened, everybody was like, yep, and now this is going to accelerate that. it's just going to throw gas on that fire that was already burning. And you're going to see, a whole bunch of just traditional retail or in-person experiences, go away because everybody loves the comfort of being able to do it from their own couch. And certainly we did see a thinning of the herd. There were a lot of really painful closures. A lot of people lost businesses, lost jobs. Very, very painful transition that took place. But I think what surprised a lot of people, and I'm certainly one of them, was coming out of COVID, we recognized just how important those in-person experiences were. And it was like, whoa, yeah, we rang the bell a little bit too quickly for the end of that round. Like, I think we've confirmed, we've reaffirmed the importance of these in-person experiences. And yes, we'll continue to layer sort of the digital elements on top of it. Being able to check in with your phone and, all kinds of things that sort of make it better and more interesting. But I agree with you 100%. I think, if anything, the COVID experience has shown us just how important the social aspect is to us, because we're social creatures, we're social animals.
Yeah, I would just dovetail that. I agree with everything you just said. I would dovetail that with, and what COVID showed is, you said it thinned the herd, and the part of the herd that gets thinned is always the weakest. And that's what happened. The businesses that weren't strong businesses, that weren't built on a strong foundation, that weren't willing to adapt, and didn't have a differentiated experience, customer experience, they went by the wayside. And I think about like these, the big giant retail malls, as we all know, they're quickly dissipating because it's such a vanilla experience. Like you could be in any mall in the world and it's going to feel the same, look the same, at least in America, it's gonna be the same exact shops, same exact double layer with an escalator, and that isn't differentiated. And so what I believe you're going to see, and already starting to see, is it's the boutique experience, whether it's fitness or you're buying coffee or you're getting jewelry or clothes. I mean, Lululemon has a huge, huge digital presence, but every time I go to their stores, there's a line at the cash register, right? And I can get the same stuff online, but it's a boutique experience they offer versus 100 different stores in a mall. That's where I believe you're going to see the winners come out, is when they can create a very unique, one of a kind customer experience. Then it doesn't matter if they sell it on Amazon, they're still going to come to you because they love the experience. But if you don't differentiate, it's going to be a very hard road. Yeah.
Great lessons.
Yeah.
Roger, I want to be the first to thank you for sharing your time and your story with us today. Myself and my audience, we appreciate it.
My pleasure. Really enjoyed it.
Folks, that's a wrap on another episode of the Inspired Stories podcast. Thanks for learning with us today.